Several years ago, the district made a commitment to analyze financial decisions with an eye toward not only the immediate implication of those decisions, but also the impact of those decisions over multiple years. The result of that is the 5-year planning tool that will be described in this Prezi. As the expenses and revenue of this 5-year planning tool are presented, it is important to note that they reflect actual district expenses and revenues as opposed to budgeted expenses and revenues. Like any household budget, we do our best to project what expenses will be over the course of a budget year, but depending upon specific events that occur during the school year, actual expenses may vary from budgeted amounts. The heart of the 5-year planning tool is the set of assumptions listed here. Currently, we have 18 assumptions that guide the long-term financial planning of the district. Throughout the Prezi, we will examine each of these assumptions and the estimated impact they will have over the course of the 5-year plan. The assumptions are not static and are revised every time we receive new information. As such, the 5-year plan you see here is a snapshot of the district's financial projections at one given point in time. Health insurance. We are currently projecting that the district's health insurance costs will increase by approximately 10% per year. This is slightly higher than the average increases we have seen in the past due to several factors. The first of which is the Affordable Care Act. The Affordable Care Act has introduced new mandated coverages that are continuing to increase costs every year. In addition, the Affordable Care Act has also introduced new fees and penalties, some of which the district is currently dealing with, and some are anticipated in the near future. In particular, unless there is a revision to the Affordable Care Act, the district is projected to pay very significant federal taxes on one of our health insurance plans in the 2018-19 school year. We are hopeful that the intention of the Affordable Care Act was not to force school districts to raise property taxes for the sole purpose of paying federal taxes, and will continue to discuss this situation with our legislators in hope of a revision to this legislation. Second, our covered employees are living longer than ever, and as such are participating in our health insurance plans for a longer period of time than they have in the past. This has the effect of raising the overall year-to-year increases. Third, the cost of certain specialty drugs, especially cancer drugs, that have recently been developed are very expensive, some costing nearly $15,000 per month. When our employees experience some of these significant illnesses, it tends to raise the cost of the district's health insurance plans by a greater amount than we have experienced in the past. Fourth, overall medical inflation due to many other factors continues to be significantly higher than the overall CPI. This has the impact of pushing our health insurance cost increases well above all other expected expenditure increases. Finally, the overall expected health insurance cost increases over the next 5 years is one of the greatest areas of concern for the district. The next assumption we'll examine is pension costs. By state law, school districts are required to pay a percentage of employee salaries to the New York State Employees Retirement System and the New York State Teachers Retirement System each year. The percentage paid varies from year to year depending on the financial performance of each of these pension funds and other factors. Both retirement systems have indicated a decrease in the contribution percentages for the 2016-17 school year. This is a very hard item to predict on a year-to-year basis due to the volatility of financial markets. For the purpose of this 5-year projection, we are assuming 11.75% contribution rate for 2016-17 and forward for the teachers' retirement system, and 15.5% for 2016-17 and forward for the employees' retirement system. The next factor is employee salaries. There are many factors that go into the projection of employee salaries over the next 5 years, including 1. An assumption of the average step salary teachers are hired on, which we currently project at step 7. 2. An assumption of the number of employees that retire each year to be replaced with employees with lower salaries, which we currently project at 10 per year for teachers and 10 per year for our non-instructional staff. 3. an assumption that current employee contracts stay in effect into the future with their current financial provisions. Any future negotiated salary increases are not included in these projections. 4. No increases or decreases in overall staffing levels. 5. Based on our current projections, we anticipate net salary increases of 1.75% per year for administrative and instructional salaries and 2.0% per year for non-instructional salaries. We will continue to monitor these projections and adjust as necessary based on changes in any of the factors indicated. Debt service. Currently, this assumption includes interest and principal payments related to the district's bonds and bond anticipation notes for capital construction projects. In the past, the district issued bond anticipation notes to pay for our bus purchases, but for the past couple of years, we have paid cash for our buses. We project that we will continue paying cash for our buses as opposed to reverting to issuing bond anticipation notes. These figures include the estimated debt service for the 2013 referendum. As will be discussed later on, all items in this category of expenditure drive a significant amount of state building aid to the district. Diesel fuel, natural gas, electric, materials, and supplies. These are the district's projections for expenditures in these categories. Diesel fuel and gasoline are very volatile, and our natural gas and electric expenses are based on a multi-year contract with the New York State Municipal Energy Consortium. BOCES costs. The district utilizes BOCES for many items, such as occupational education, instructional technology support, cooperative purchasing, and others. The majority of the items in this category are eligible for state BOCES aid, which constitutes a significant amount of the district's annual state aid. Expenditures in this category vary depending on the annual cost charged by BOCES for each of these services, as well as the type and quantity of services that the district participates in. Currently projected expenditures in this category will increase by 2.5% per year. Special education, staffing, federal grants. Special education, response to intervention, and other related programs are mandates imposed upon BHBL by both the federal and state government that each of these entities partially fund. Special education costs are very volatile and can result in large swings in expenditures from year to year. State and federal mandates in these categories have been increasing in the recent past. We are currently projecting costs in this area to increase by 6% per year. Property taxes. The district is currently assuming property tax levy increases of 2.75% per year, which is based on a starting point for the tax cap of 2%, plus exclusions for growth in assessed value in the community due to new construction, and exclusion for some debt service costs related to district capital projects. Over the past 7 years, the district tax levy has had an average increase of roughly 2.5%, with the weighted average tax rate impact to the taxpayers of our community of approximately 1.9% over the same time period. It is likely that the tax cap for the 2016-17 school year will likely be quite a bit lower than the projected 2.75% due to the factors that go into the tax cap calculation, so this projection may be revised in the near future. Obviously, the tax levy is something that is approved annually by both the Board of Education and district residents and may vary based upon the specific circumstances of each budget year. State aid. Recent history has reinforced the notion that state aid is a very volatile and unpredictable revenue source on a year-to-year basis. We are currently projecting increases of 2% per year, plus additional state building aid associated with construction costs from the 2013 referendum. This could change dramatically, either positively or negatively, based upon the actions of the governor and state legislature each year. Other revenue. Other revenue is a small portion of the district's budget and includes items such as rental of district space to BOCES, fees for facilities use, Medicare Part D reimbursements, Medicaid revenue, insurance recoveries, and other items. We are currently projecting revenue in this category to increase by 1% per year. Hostetler District Office sale. This projection assumes that the Hostetler Administration Building is sold during the 2015-16 school year, with net proceeds of $500,000 to the district. This is reflected in the other revenue category for the 2015-16 school year. Transfer to capital. The transfer to capital is not a separate expense item, but is included in the interfund transfers line in the 5-year plan. Interfund transfers include transfers from the district's general fund to the special aid fund for certain summer school special education expenses, transfers to the cafeteria fund to cover deficits, and transfers to the capital fund to meet the promise we made to our community during the 2013 referendum. This line is specifically showing how the district plans to fund the $2.7 million that was described during the referendum process over the course of several years. Part of this is funded through the district's insurance reserve related to the Hostetler flood. Part is from the proceeds from the sale of the Hostetler building, with the remainder coming from other fund balance and reserve items. Projected deficits. Given all of the assumptions described above, the district is projecting deficits over each of the next 5 years. These deficits can be covered through fund balance and reserves over the short term, but some solutions need to be found to ensure long-term financial solvency. This is an item that is frequently discussed among decision makers, particularly decisions related to collective bargaining and overall staffing levels. Fund balance and reserves. This area describes the district's current fund balance and reserves, as well as projections for these areas into the near future. A description of these reserves can be found in Agenda Item 3 of the September 1st, 2015 Board of Education meeting. In conclusion, the district's 5-year financial plan is a living document that will be updated and revised every time new information is received. We will continue to monitor our expenses and do everything that we can to ensure that we are providing the best possible education to our students at the lowest possible cost to our community. As we say every budget season, every dollar decision has an educational impact, and every educational decision has a dollar impact. Thank you very much.